Good afternoon and welcome to our event Spotlight on URC 2025 with Davide, Cecilia, Italy's Special Envoy for Ukraine's Reconstruction. My name is Andrei Garbuza and I am the head of the Secretariat of the German Platform for the Reconstruction of Ukraine. Before we start, a quick technical note. Our event today will be recorded. By participating in the event, you agree to the recording and that the recording will be published on our website afterwards. Some words about the German platform. The German Platform for the Reconstruction of Ukraine is an initiative of the German federal government and brings together actors based in Germany who are active or interested in the reconstruction of Ukraine. In today's event, we would like to focus on the upcoming 4th Ukraine Recovery Conference, which will take place in Rome on July 10 and 11 this year. The URC is a high-level political event dedicated to the swift recovery and long-term reconstruction of Ukraine that has been taking place annually since the beginning of Russia's full-scale war of aggression. It reflects the Lugano principles, including a whole-of-society approach to recovery through the meaningful participation of a broad range of stakeholders. Like in 2024, the URC 2025 will focus on the 4 Berlin dimensions: the business dimension, the human dimension, the local and regional dimension, and the EU dimension. They are still the most relevant to the resilience and reconstruction of Ukraine. We are very delighted to welcome a special guest at our event today, Davide Cecilia, Special Envoy for the Reconstruction of Ukraine for the Italian government and coordinator of the Ukraine Recovery and Resilience Task Force since 2023. Benvenuto, signore. The Special Envoy for the Reconstruction of Ukraine coordinates all components of the Italian national system regarding the recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine and the initiatives to increase the country's resilience. Mr. Cecilia is in constant interaction with the Ukrainian government, partners, European Union institutions, and IFIs, and also ensures Italy's representation in the multi-agency donor coordination platform for Ukraine and with the EU and G7. Davide Cecilia was also the Italian ambassador in Ukraine from 2016 to 2020 and diplomatic advisor to the Italian Minister of Health during the COVID pandemic. Today, he will give us a short overview of the current stage of planning and the priorities for the conference in Rome, and then we will have plenty of time to discuss your questions. We would like to ask you to post any questions you might already have directly in the chat, so we can take them up later. And with this, I would now like to hand over to Davide Cecilia. Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Andrei. Thanks to the whole Secretariat of the German Platform for the Reconstruction of Ukraine for this invitation. I hope you can hear me. And as you know, the Ukraine Recovery Conference co-hosted by Italy and Ukraine will take place in a very short time on 10th and 11th of July in Rome. So we are working 24/7 in order to have a nice and efficient organization of the conference. And this is, as you said, the continuation of the annual series of high-level political events which started to take place in 2017 when the conference was called Ukraine Reform Conference, and then after the large-scale invasion, it took the name of Ukraine Recovery Conference, the last one of which was in Berlin in June 2024. Like in Berlin, we are going to have a whole of society approach, very inclusive, with all the stakeholders, official delegation, international financial institutions and international organizations, business, civil society, local authorities, think tanks will be able to share the same location and to interact together. We are not waiting only for expecting only leaders, government members, but this very large group of stakeholders for a total amount of around 3,500, 4,000 people, 98 at the moment official delegations, almost 40 international organizations, 1,500 companies, big, medium, and small, a few hundred civil society organizations and local authorities. We have just published the consent note. Today I had a look. It's not yet on the website of the conference, but it's a question of it's a matter of minutes. And the key goal of the URC 2025, as specified in the concept note, is to raise awareness and to mobilize the support and investment for the recovery and rebuilding of Ukraine, including its reforms and its modernization. The most important challenge that we have for this conference, especially if it will take place in a context of ceasefire or advanced peace negotiations, will be to have a solid participation from business and a participation of quality. That means investment, contracts, and real engagement from the private sector. We all know that without the private sector, it will be not possible to rebuild Ukraine.
Absolutely.
And the idea is to work, to continue the work that we've been done, including in the Ukraine donor platform, in order to enable investments through, on the one side, security guarantees and insurances and the risk instruments, on the other through dedicated financial instruments, and on another perspective, working on reforms in order to have a better business environment, on which I will say maybe something later. But
yeah, would be great. Mr. Cecilia, I'm very sorry for a short interruption. Your camera is off. If it's possible, maybe you can turn it on so we can see you as well.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Sorry for the interruption. We were about the business.
I didn't know this. Okay, so let's speak a moment about the structure of the conference. The conference will open with 3 plenary sessions. One of 3 leaders, the President Zelensky, Prime Minister Meloni, President of the European Commission von der Leyen. Then we are going to have a session of the G7 plus foreign ministers, including Foreign Minister of Ukraine. And the third plenary session will be the opening session of the Recovery Forum with Vice Premier Tajani, Vice Premier Sviridenko, and Minister of Economy, the Commissioner for Enlargement, Marta Kos, and the 2 chairs of the Business Advisory Council, the outgoing chair, Christian Brook, CEO of Siemens Energy, and the incoming chair, Vice President for Internationalization of Confindustria, Barbara Cimino. We, as you know, confirm the four burning dimension as pillars of Ukraine's recovery. For the sake of continuity and fostering a permanent process to support Ukraine's recovery, reconstruction, and modernization. For each of these dimensions, we are working on a number of panels. We are trying to achieve a certain symmetry, but not yet. So there will be for each dimension between 6 and 9 panels. On the business dimension, we will aim, as I said earlier, first of all, to discuss instruments for attracting investment and strategies for the attraction of foreign capitals. There will be a panel on critical raw materials, on energy resilience, on the processing industry, a panel dedicated to SMEs, very important both for Ukraine and also for our countries. In Italy, there are 4 million SMEs. And it's very, very important and very challenging to connect SMEs to the reconstruction process since they are not able as such to join large reconstruction projects. So we need to build a supply chain and partnerships in order to do that. On the human capital dimension, so this is very crowded and it's a very, very important dimension for the reconstruction of Ukraine. I must say that this is the second focus for the conference, how we will able to organize the return and the reintegration of refugees or IDPs or veterans of vulnerable groups into the social fabric of the country will be key, both in order to restart the economic cycle in terms of an efficient labor market, but also in terms of making Ukraine once again a place where people will be ready to return and to live in. And this means that we need to work on a positive agenda of rebuilding the civilian, the social infrastructures and sustainable cities and hospitals, schools, and so forth. So some of these panels will be dedicated to the labor market, to the education, but also to inclusivity and disabilities, to health, including health, infrastructure, and mental health. One panel will be specific on the return and reintegration of Ukrainian citizens. Here we will talk also about this initiative of the Ukrainian government called Unity Hub. There will be a panel on gender equality and also on sports and youth. And last but not least, actually this is the first panel of the human capital dimension, we will discuss in cultural heritage and cultural identity as a culture, as a means to preserve the national identity, which, as you know, has been endangered by the present conflict. The local dimension is another very, very key pillar of the conference. We have just come back from the Verona event dedicated to the local and regional dimension. And the reason is very clear. We think together with the Ukrainian government and Ukrainian mayors and regions that reconstruction must start from communities and the territory. So the first panel will be dedicated to community recovery and development. There will be a focus on the access to finance at local level, infrastructure development, urban development, one panel on institution building for local governments, another one on international partnership, and the last one on reform decentralization. And finally, the EU dimension, which is key for the process of reconstruction, since the two processes of accession to the European Union and to the reconstruction and reconstruction are closely interlinked. So here we will discuss about the reforms in order to join the European Union, to join the single market, to align Ukraine's policies and institutions with the European standards and driving long-term economic and social progress. The first panel in this dimension will take stock of the EU accession process and the participation of Ukraine to the single market. There will be a panel on the rule of law, on energy and green transition, on environmental restoration and demining, and on global food security. And possibly we are discussing with our Ukrainian partner on a panel on financial integration. So this is the main event. The panel will take the first afternoon and the whole second day. We aim at closing the conference at around 5 p.m. the second day with the closing ceremony. But this is not the end of the story, because we are going to have also something dedicated specifically to business, which is a recovery forum, which will provide an interactive on-site platform for Ukrainian, Italian, international stakeholders, including local authorities, IFIs, Development Bank, to engage in dialogue, share experience, doing matchmaking, promoting collaborations, doing a presentation. There will be a stage, so we're working on a stage program, and then there will be workshops. So the recovery forum will be organized around a number of workshops, sector by sector, according to priority sectors of reconstruction, starting with the energy, renewables, infrastructure, transport and logistics. We are going to have for the first time a defense and strategic industry, critical raw materials, manufacturing processes and agribusiness, SMEs, the innovation, high-tech and digital, healthcare, pharma and life sciences, and the made in Ukraine. So if you notice, there will be some panels and some workshops in the recovery forum with the same subject: health, health infrastructure, health workforce, in the main event, which will discuss policies and measures in order to revive the sector, to restart the activities of the sector, to promote reforms, and The healthcare, pharma, life sciences workshop will be more about the Ukrainian government doing presentations of possible projects and programs and IFIs illustrating instruments for investment and risking, and the companies, a lot of companies asking questions on how they could participate in the reconstruction. And there will be also a business fair. So the stage will be open on the business fair with 120 booths, 30 for Ukrainian, 30 for international, 30 for Italian companies. I think there will be 3 booths for each major donors, including Germany, of course, and we are expecting appointments from the German side, from partner sides, about companies participating in the business fair, with an application which will organize the B2B. We have 20-25 rooms for bilaterals and B2B meetings in order to be as interactive as possible. And finally, we are going to have a number of labs. Labs are a place where we can discuss cross-cutting issues on which we want to have a specific focus. We think will be better to be dealt alone and not included in panels, so that we will highlight some of these topics. One of them is culture and tourism, for example, how the tourist industry, tourist economy is connected with enhancing, promoting, restarting cultural life and cultural activity in Ukraine. Another one will be on the Ukrainian diaspora. A third one, this is a UK proposal, and there is a very nice collaboration between our cooperations on the peace, humanitarian aid, and development nexus. Here we would like to see a lot of NGOs which are engaged in the humanitarian effort, but can also, of course, participate in development initiatives. There is the Skill Alliance in cooperation with the German International Cooperation Agency. School nutrient reform, which is an initiative from by the First Lady of Ukraine, which I think Germany hosted in Berlin last year too, plus a number of multilateral meetings, including Ukraine donor platform, the G7 plus energy coordination, development banks, and so forth. So
okay, thank you, David. I see there's the program is intense. Yeah, we have already a lot of questions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are working around, as I said, we are working around the clock. At the moment, we are sending out invitations to different stakeholders, and I think maybe I can stop here in order to take your question.
Mm-hmm. Thank you a lot. That was really impressive with the program and all the topics you have. We have already several questions from the chat, but before we proceed with them, we will be clustering your questions and then asking here. I wanted first to ask you, this Monday, you had a very successful On the Road to URC pre-conference for the local and regional dimension in Verona, in which also many mayors from Ukraine and EU countries participated. Could you maybe share some of your impressions from this event?
That was, I think, a very positive event. It confirmed us the very strong collaboration among local and regional authorities across Europe with Ukrainian authorities. There was a lot of interest and participation from Italian authorities, but also from local authorities at European level, the Committee of the Region, the Congress of the Region of the Council of Europe. There were mayors from UK, France, regional authorities from Germany. There was Professor Mibrat, your special envoy for the decentralization process that I met in Kiev when I was ambassador there. Lot of, I must say, spontaneous participation from Ukrainian authorities. Sometimes we are a bit concerned that this participation are channeled through through the capital, but this was not the case. We had a participation from Bucha, from Borodyanska, from Poltava, Vinnytsia, from Lviv. From many, I must say, also small communities, which is very important because the Gromada are one of the best results of the decentralization reform. We had a lot of important governors, including from Odessa, from Kirograd, from the Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. So a lot of people who travel from very difficult areas surrounded by the conflict in an effort that we very much appreciated. By the way, today there is another important event dedicated to the local sector in Brussels, organized by the Committee of the Region in Brussels, where I spoke a couple of hours ago, and then we are going to Kiev on 5th and 6th of June. There is another event with the president of Ukraine dedicated to the local dimension, confirming that this is a very important element of the reconstruction. We very much appreciated what the Minister of Development of Communities and Territory, run by Oleksiy Koleba, is doing in this direction. We talk about many important topics, including fostering partnerships, the private sector involvement. We brought to Verona a number of utilities companies working with the major Italian cities like Turin and Milan in order to foster collaborations. We had a strong representations of IFIs, including the vice president of EIB, who discuss how to foster access to finance for local authorities. So I think this is something ongoing, a work in progress, but very, very encouraging from our perspective.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. So we have already over 25 questions. I'm really sorry if we will not manage to do all of them, but we will cluster. And Mr. Cecilia, of course, would be great then to hear as well further your opinion. You mentioned already that Italy is planning to continue the whole of the society approach of the Berlin URC. And the question here is, how is civil society involved in the preparation, and how is the participation at the conference and on the panels is decided, or how is the involvement possible?
Okay, I will answer shortly.
Short, please, short, so we
It's
can.
possible to say that, first of all, the civil society is very much involved since the beginning. We had consultations with civil society both in Kiev and in all the events where I have participated in the last few months. In Kiev, there was this event on the road to the URC in April, back to back to the Ukraine donor platform, where we consulted about 60 representatives of the civil society. They are part of our discussions related to the panels, to the titles, the topic, the issues that we want to discuss there, including the deliverables. And what we are trying to do is to have one representative of the civil society for each panel, possibly, which is a bit challenging, but we'll try our best to do that.
Ambition.
We are getting a list of participants from the civil society from Ukraine. Also, that list not only channeled by the Ukrainian teams, but there is a spontaneous gathering of civil society wanted to participate in the conference, by the way, represented a very broad range of issues. Also, this conference is kind of 360 degrees. And so it is right that we receive representation of many different kind of representations from civil society, which we will try to include in the conference.
Thank you. There is some questions to the invitation concerning the invitation process. How does the invitation and registration process work? Is there a formalized way for individual actors, businesses, NGOs to express their interest and make sure they are considered? And then maybe some information about when the applicants will get confirmations, and maybe if you have a timeline or your assessment would be greatly appreciated.
For the invitations, there are different processes according to the different stakeholders. We started with the official delegation, international organizations. Now we are processing business. The Verona event was very useful in order to have an idea of the list of local authorities that we should invite. The participation is upon invitations. There is a portal for there is registration of the participation once you receive the invitation. We will process in the next couple of weeks civil society. The best way to promote civil society participation is to send us an email. Maybe some of my team can share in the chat the email where to write, and of course we will do our very best to process all the proposals and all the candidature as soon as possible. Participation of civil society, like many other categories, will be 1+0, so-called. So we will be able for the question on issue of quantity to accept only one person for each organization.
Thank you. You mentioned all these impressive topics and lists for panels and labs. And there was a question as well if it's possible to get an overview or a list of all planned panels or labs which are being prepared. And connected to this, there was a question regarding the side events. If you, as an official organizer, as well have an overview or some information on the planned side events which will take place around this time.
Okay, on the first part of the question, we have, of course, a matrix with the panels, the workshops, the labs, which is still under negotiations. So we will wait a bit in order for the list to become consolidated. But we would like to share, to do an early sharing of this matrix and also of the program of the conference in order to give participants an idea where they should be and where they should go. They will be all of them in the same place, by the way, so that there is no need to travel around Rome. You may have to travel for the side events, however, but not during the time of the conference, because, as you know, side events during the conference are strictly forbidden. So there will be plenty of them on the 9th of July, some of them including on the 8th, a few of them on the 11th. Maybe something will happen on in the night of the 10th. That will be, the conference will be closed in the night of the 10th. There will be also many cultural events, by the way, a film festival, some cultural exhibitions. Part of these exhibitions will be inside the location. So a lot of things are going to happen around the conference, but we don't have yet a map of the side event. I guess that as long as they are approved, they will start to appear in the website of the conference. So we will use the website in order to orientate people also with regard to the side events.
Thank you for your answer. There are some questions regarding specific topics. For example, with regard of involvement of Ukrainian diaspora in Italy, or maybe you can give your impression or experience so far. And then there is as well a question regarding agriculture as a topic, how important or prominent it is on the agenda.
Okay, Ukrainian diaspora is going to be prominent in the conference for the reason I mentioned at the beginning, which is that return integration will be one of the main topics, and reaching a positive agenda could be one of the main achievements for the conference. We will have a specific panel dedicated to return reintegration in the human capital dimension. This will be called the engagement, return, and reintegration of Ukrainians. There will be also a lab dedicated and animated by the Ukrainian diaspora. The title will be Diaspora-Driven Strategies for Skills Development, Empowering Ukraine's Recovery and Fostering Cohesion. This is, by the way, something which comes directly from the meeting we had with civil society in Kyiv at the beginning of April. And the diaspora and the refugees will appear in some of the panels in the main event. And of course also the lab dedicated to Skill Alliance is partly about the return and reintegration of refugees. For the agriculture, we are going to have two discussions. One will be in the business dimension. We will discuss business opportunities related to the agricultural sector, agriculture and food industry. So also there, the building of supply chains and how to add values to Ukraine's traditional production. and the panel will be about revitalizing and modernizing the manufacturing sector and the agricultural sector. And there will be also a workshop in the Recovery Forum, more focused on agribusiness machinery, where companies could discuss the investment opportunities. And in the EU reform dimensions, a specific focus will be made on agriculture and food security and global food security, but I guess there will be also some discussion about European agriculture and the way that this should be transformed in order to integrate Ukraine into the EU. This is going to be a classic traditional theme that we will discuss in the coming period. I don't want to say months, but in the period up to the final accession of Ukraine to the European Union.
Okay, thank you. Davide, maybe mentioning or jumping back to what you mentioned before at the beginning with the integration of the outcomes, the deliverables, which were made in commitments made at URC 2024 in Berlin. How does URC 2025 plan to build on this momentum and on those commitments from Berlin, particularly in terms of the deliverables? And maybe connected to this in general, how do you plan to ensure concrete and sustainable outcomes after this conference in Rome?
That's a very challenging topic for the past, especially because the Berlin conference reached very important results in terms of 16.5 billion euro on new money, 110 contracts and MOUs which were signed during the conference. We asked all the partners to have a list of deliverables and to concentrate their signatures around the conference, and I think we are going to have very interesting results. Of course, we will keep the momentum of the conference in Berlin. We are working on a number of instruments on finance, including an equity fund, which could be very interesting by filling the capital gap that at the moment is the shortening the economic perspective of Ukraine. But we are going to have also the risk in instruments. We are going to have contracts signed by private companies. We will have meetings of the alliances which were launched in Berlin. New ones will be announced, and I must say, I think the contribution of this conference and all the preparatory events is that we try a bit to cancel this impression that the conference is a one-off event, a talk show of a couple of days, and then people completely forget about it, and then we restart the next year somewhere else. The idea through this four preparatory events, through the conference, through the follow-up, we are already planning some follow-up on the way to the next conference, is to build a process and to link this process also to the work of the Ukraine donor platform. The Ukraine donor platform will be more and more integrated into the structure of the conference, so that we will not establish a new international organization, But the idea is to have a permanent and structured framework which will support Ukraine in the process of recovery and reconstruction, possibly up to the accession to the European Union. This must be a huge effort it is a huge effort of the donor community, and as such, without doing bureaucracy duplications, but must be consistently organized.
Yeah, thank you. We have only 5 minutes left for final remarks and questions. Maybe one issue I would like to address, and which our participants are asking, you mentioned already several groups like IDPs, returnees, but with the perspective on vulnerable groups like, for example, Roma minority, is there any representation uh, foreseen on the conference? Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, and maybe connected, but or in this context, you mentioned as well, there will be a lot of cultural events, but as well on some of the pre-conferences, there were, of course, cultural institutions in wartime were discussed, prepared. Maybe if there are any plans with regard specifically on this, you can as well articulate what the plans are, how the involvement is foreseen.
Okay, on minorities, on Roman, we got some representations, so we'll try to see how they can be included in the conference. Our intention is to be as inclusive as possible. There are also a number of specific issues with regard to disabled people, not only people with disabilities through the war, but also people with physical disabilities, for example. So we want to have some specific discussion also on this, which we believe it is very important. On the cultural side, we are going to involve the main international stakeholders, starting from UNESCO. By the way, UNESCO we will have a photographic exhibition curated by UNESCO of pictures taken during the conflict, which is very impactful, I think. And there will be a lot of cultural institutions, museums, cultural organizations to be involved in the conference, also because we want, by organizing this panel dedicated to cultural heritage and cultural identity, we want also to promote those who we call cultural originators, artists, producers, so that there is an economic support to cultural life that we can promote during the conference and during the reconstruction and recovery of Ukraine. So that's the idea, to work 360 degrees on cultural, involving not only institutions, but above all, people.
Thank you for this. Maybe two short questions at the very end. One is of a technical nature. Is the streaming of the conference planned? Can those who are interested but were not lucky enough to participate in person, to witness online, to follow the panels, etc.?
Yes, yes. We are foreseeing the streaming of the plenary session of the four dimensions and also the recovery forum at least, so that is going to be possible to follow the works of the conference live in real time. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And maybe with regard to invitations, we already mentioned this at the beginning. There is some interest from businesses, German businesses. How is this possibility of a stand presence at the Recovery Forum for German international businesses? How can German companies apply for it? And as well, the question regarding who will be sending the invitation to Ukrainian and German municipalities. Is there a contact person or office they could reach out in order to express their interest? Maybe your comments on that.
On the invitation to business, we are processing these invitations right now. We have list of business interested in the conference from our embassies. Some other list comes from business organizations, from manufacturing associations, from the business advisory council. In the business advisory council, there are national representatives from business of their industries and associations, and we are very much reachable through our email address and contact points. I don't think business will have any problem in reaching us. We had, by the way, 2 preparatory events dedicated to business in Milan and in Brussels with hundreds of participants, which were very useful in order to understand the very high level of interest from the private sector. On the local authorities, the Ukrainian government has opened a call for participation of Ukrainian municipalities and regional authorities. As far as we are concerned, besides the email address that we send you in the chat, we can get in contact with local authorities through the Committee of the Region in Brussels, the Congress of Local Powers in Strasbourg, or through our regional and city national organization ANCI, Conferenza delle Regioni, or through partnership with Italian cities and communities. So it's plenty of ways to reach us and to become a candidate to participate in the URC 2025.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I see there are still several topics coming up. I'm really, really sorry that we have already run out of time, and I want to give a special thank you, Davide, for joining us today and sharing your insights, and of course, a lot of success to you and your colleagues to organizing this, I'm sure, great event, which will help Ukraine and help all of us to do the best for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Before we wrap up, we would like to inform you about our upcoming events. And for those of you who would like to give us feedback on today's event or share their ideas for future events, we would like to invite you to participate in our feedback survey, and you can find and access it through the link and QR code on the slide that we show you right now. And in the end, we would like to subscribe to our mailing list and join our LinkedIn group of the platform. Thank you again, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you to all participants for joining our event today. Good afternoon, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Andrei. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.